want you to be boss. And I want you to have your own family. I trust that you can run New York, Dominic. Will you do this for me?
Yes, Michael. I will.
So in the end of the first game, Aldo Ciapone was the boss of New York. Michael was kind of moving on. That was kind of how you won the first game. In Godfather II, Aldo is your boss. You're a guy named Dominic and you work for Aldo out of New York. The main arc is the Godfather II storyline in the second half. So you deal with Frank Pantangeli and the Carmine Rosados. You deal with Senator Pat Geary. So there's all those pieces that tie into the Godfather II film that sort of are the arc as you move through the Godfather II game. Plus we extend out to some other things that we think are kind of interesting because there's a lot of information that's been declassified in the last few years about the CIA, the mob, Cuba, and so we tie a little intrigue into our experience there as well. So Godfather II is really all about you joining the Corleone family, except for this time, you become the Don. Really, if you step back and think about what the goals of the game are, is to lead your family to success. And success in Godfather II is taking over all the crime rings, taking over all the rackets and businesses, and defeating the other 5 families. And figuring out how to do that, deciding which crime rings you're going after, is the Don's decisions. So in the game, you actually recruit the guys in your family, you talk to them, you find about their background, you find out about their specialties, who are you going to promote. You also spend your money on the RPG attributes that affect every one of these guys in the game. So you make a decision about how effective they're going to be for you and where do you want a guy to specialize. And then as you're playing the game, as you're looking at the Don's view, where you're seeing what the other families are doing, this time they're playing the game too. They're trying to take over all the other crime rings. So if you think about this, a real powerful family has 8 soldiers, capos, and underbosses, and you go throughout the game and you eliminate those guys, you're really going to weaken them because that's who they use to go out and take other venues from you and from other families. So if you're smart and you really leverage that opportunity by doing those hits, you can really change the balance of the game as you play.
And now, you are gonna die.
And that's really a big difference as you're playing the game. You're constantly thinking about what is my big picture? How are we being successful in taking over each of the crime rings? How am I deploying my guys? And then also how am I leading them into battle? Because being a Don is also in the action game. So as you're leading them in the strategy experience, you're also leading them in the action experience. At the heart of Godfather II, it's an action game, just like Godfather I. It's act like a mobster and think like a Don. What we really brought to this time was really doubled down on our Black Hand experience. So when Godfather I, you locked onto a guy and use your stick to attack him. In Godfather II, you use the right trigger for the right hand, left trigger for the left hand. And that way you can pull combos off whenever you want. You can do our special pummel move. When you grab a guy, you grab with both triggers and you can use a stick to attack him, headbutt him or knee him or throw him around the room, or dig in with both triggers and actually strangle the guy and feel his life shaking in the controller. It's a very powerful, visceral experience. We really tried to double down on that in Godfather II.
Hold out on me again, and the last thing you'll ever see is my foot in your goddamn face.
Also in our shooting experience in Godfather I, it was lock on and shoot. Godfather II, we have free aim all the time. You can lock on and then you go for headshots and knee shots and elbow shots, but it's free aim all the time. And the free aim is powerful because you have crew with you most of the time when you're playing. And that allows you to easily direct guys here and there as you're moving through the environment. In terms of figuring out sort of things we kind of wanted to improve in the game, a lot was focused on how we're going to improve the environment. In Godfather I, we spent a lot of time trying to be sort of authentic to New York. And then we ended up having these really interesting ideas in our head of like, hey, let's get a call in New Jersey and then have to go do a mission over in Brooklyn, which sounded really cool on paper, but as you experience in the game, it was kind of like a 12-minute commute. We all have plenty of those at home, so try to focus the game and design the world around the gameplay.
No one runs a racket in this city without giving me a cut of the action.
Fans of Godfather I can really expect is we really doubled down on the things you loved about the game, the Black Hand experience, the action, the shooting, the taking over the big venues, the extortion experience, but this time we tied it all together and put a layer on top, where not only do you do the actions, but you call the shots. But you also have a game that's alive. The other families are competing against you. It's not just take over the map, you're done. You might take something over, and if you don't guard it well, it can get taken back from you. And that falls right into our tagline, which is, you gotta act like a mobster, but you gotta think like a Don.
That's good. When this deal is done, we're gonna do great things in this country.
L'chaim. Gendan, salute.
Look out for it on February 24th on the PS3, Xbox 360, and the PC.